This is the new Honda Civic. Is it maybe the best price performance sedan or fastback out there? Let's find out together with Thomas on Autogefühl for you in 4K, full screen and full length. Let's go. In the front you can see, I would say, rather an evolutionary design for the new Civic. I found very beautiful how the front grille here leads over to the headlamps. Rather consistent and clean design here in the front, and already quite sporty, I think. This color here is called Crystal Red. Not crystal meth, Crystal Red. And where can you see that we have the hybrid drivetrain today? Yes, the blue ring around the Honda logo. The length at 4 meters 55 or 179 inches. It gets really interesting because this is so-called hatchback, or I would also maybe say fastback or liftback. The thing is that this hatch stand in the back, it really opens very wide. At 12 centimeters or 5 inches longer, there's also the true sedan available, then with a longer rear area, longer trunk, but then with a separate trunk. Yes, longer, different in the looks a little bit, but then again, harder to load things in and out. Soon more about that. Today we'll see an 18-inch in black in a sportier styling. So also nice contrast, but you can also, for example, go for brighter wheels. Very base versions, for example, would start with 16-inch depending on your market. 17 inches available, and the Type R will then get 19-inch exclusively. It's very interesting because this vehicle here has always been, for the past generations, it is on a compact platform. At the same time, it's almost like mid-size sedan style. So this is also where this price performance thing begins. It is at the price point in comparison to other normal compact hatches, but it already is way longer. You get more of a vehicle. In this new generation, a little bit longer wheelbase, wider track, everything can for more stands on the road. Nice new light signatures here for the rear, and this hatchback or fastback style is definitely unique. Some love it, some don't. Me personally, I think the sedan looks better, but when we open the trunk, the advantage here gets obvious. By the way, they use a multi-link rear suspension here, so that's also very good for this segment. It's not shared by all of its competitors, or maybe they depended on the drivetrain and so on. Here, always the case then. That's actually very good. And also in this new generation, they stiffened up the chassis. Let's see later on if that has an effect on driving. Car key, rather simple, does the job. There's also keyless entry available here. You put your hand on top there. It's like with BMW approximately. And hand on the inside end to open it. Really nice. Then the door closing sound. Wait a minute, that sounds awesome. That's, wow, cool. And what they also have done, usually with Hondas, there's a big problem that when you would snatch the door handle by mistake or something, it sounds super weird. But here, they have improved that sound. It doesn't sound, like this echo-ish anymore. So, yeah, very well done. Then inside of the doors, here on the top part, is already soft touch with the structure, and even softer than here for your elbows. I mean, it's not a super high-class premium vehicle, but they have definitely improved. New steering wheel with a very modern design, and what I found cool, here the buttons. Left for the volume, for example, right for the cruise control and also for the digital instruments. Still real knobs, no hashtag capacitive BS. And here easy control also for the steering wheel heating if you have that option. So this is kinda hashtag capacitive BS free. And do you hear that? Nice clicking sounds at the buttons here at the steering wheel, especially at these switches that you can pull up and down. Wow, that's awesome. So where's the distance now to premium vehicles? This has diminished now more and more. Super interesting. 1 meter 89 or 6'2", and that leaves still some headroom here, although this is the one with the panoramic roof. So you can of course also get one without. This does have a shade. So the shade right here, you can close it, you can also fully open it. And this is also a panoramic roof you can actually really open, and it's really nice. Then also steering wheel position here, up and down, and it also goes really low. I like that. I like to put the steering wheel kind of low. It gives me this very sporty and in-controlled position. And the seating comfort is also very decent. The seating surfaces on this test vehicle here in animal skin, but you get in base versions also fabric seats, and they're more breathable and also more animal friendly. As for the interior layout, you would start 7-inch on the left with some analog instruments, mix, and 7-inch on the right. This year, optional, full digital 10.2-inch digital instruments on the left, right side 9-inch infotainment screen. What I love best about this interior is, look at that here, this mesh structure, great sport design feature, and here also clicking sounds for the vent control, and such a relief. Manual climate knobs here, and for the vent strength. So simple, straightforward, and also once again with nice clicking sounds. Yeah, this is more Audi-esque than Audi is right now. The infotainment system is pretty simple and straightforward. Not much more I would actually need. The car internal GPS is, yeah, maybe better used than before, but also not that ideal. Most of the time I would rely on the Apple CarPlay and an Auto wired or wireless connection available. Cool is that we always have this home hotkey and this back button, and also manual volume knob here. That's cool. Apple CarPlay integration looks then like this. Does the job as well. And we also have here the Bose sound system. Let's listen to that. Oh, it's pretty nice surround sound indeed. That's cool. In these digital instruments here, right side speed, left side you see the power output, and you can control something here like, for the consumption, visualization of the drivetrains and so on. Not too adjustable, but does the job, and it looks quite clear and clean. Then this lower middle console, 2 USB-A chargers here, one to connect, one charging only. There's an inductive charging pad underneath. You can also turn that off. I find it quite good. I rather rely on a cable connection actually. Then here this gear selector is interesting. This is reverse, parking, neutral, and G for drive. It's a different solution, but why not? So it's actually simple, straightforward. And then it's a drive selector here. We'll also test the sport mode while driving, for example. The cup holders here are really large, rather set out for large bottles or cups, but they're also somewhat here adaptive. And then this armrest here, soft touch on top. Could be a little better attached than this small area on top, and you can lift it out and have more space underneath. Rear seating area, nothing special, nothing fancy. Substantial middle tunnel and 2 USB chargers, USB-A. Inside of the door here in the rear is hard pack. But yet again, look at the price. Where an old car is actually quite long for this segment. Legroom is not that much when I'm driving as a tall driver, so I do hit my legs right here. And the headroom is also limited due to the design. It raises a little bit to the rear here, so it works kinda for a tall adult. Also when I stretch my legs a little bit to the outside, yeah, it's okay, So comfort is okay, but I would have expected a little bit more legroom. But it seems that Honda paid more attention to the length of the trunk than here in this case. In the middle part, it's not too stiff to sit on, but then again, gets more cramped with the headroom. So definitely not ideal. So rather for tall adults, but then again, limited legroom, have to know that. In the middle part, you can fold down this one here. This is not adapted for the cup holders. Quality-wise, this is okay, I would say. Nothing too fancy as I said here. Now looking at the trunk, this is really interesting. About 400 liters or just under 25 cubic feet. And this cover here might seem weirdo at first, but then it's not too unclever. You can very well handle that one. And then you have here like a free way to fold the seats directly. So this is again not a bad solution at all. You can see here the cabin trolley also fits in a vertical way, in a very easy way actually. Underneath there's not much more space, just a little bit. I wonder if there are also versions with replacement tire. Then the width here is 1.40 meters right here, just a little bit more in the front, but that's okay. And the length here is about 90 centimeters or 35 inches than here for the fastback version. The height, and this is of course a yeah, we can either use it here, there's a small step, but then here, you know, where the maximum area is, this is in 75 centimeters or almost 30 inches, and that's very, very good. And look at that here, when I fold the whole thing, yeah, there we go. So very, very well usable. And the total length in here, 1.65 meters or 65 inches. As for engines, it's kind of split between US and European market. Always front wheel drive, but then US market 1.5 liter turbo, 180 or 200 horsepower in the SI, or a naturally aspirated 2 liter engine with 160 horsepower. This one is also the 2 liter engine, that's very aspirated, but then 180 horsepower, and the hybrid drivetrain here, predominantly for the European market, works in a very interesting way. Acceleration figure less than 8 seconds is actually quite decent. And then you have kind of like this triple mechanism, either directly powering the front wheels when you drive motorway, or then when you have a pure electric driving, enough battery left, directly powering the front wheels, or the combustion engine serves as a generator then for the battery, and then once again for the electric motor. And which drive mode this car is on is automatically picked. And how does it exactly work? And how does it transport in the driving feel? Let's find out in the driving part. This is Thomas's driving lounge with the new Honda Civic. Today we're also testing the 2-liter hybrid drivetrain. This review will be, of course, not only about the hybrid drivetrain, but also generally speaking about driving a new Civic, even if it would be with another engine. You can pick here sport mode, normal mode, eco mode. And here for the German Autobahn, our motorway will pick the sports mode. See about that acceleration. Rolling one from 40 kilometers an hour. Let's go. 120. 150. It's not too bad, actually. 170, let's see now, high speed. Wind noise picking up right now. Yeah, it's actually quite loud than here. Wasn't too bad earlier. And see if we can reach top speed. Now it's struggling, 183. There's nothing much more coming. 184. Doesn't feel like I reached top speed yet, but 185. Now it feels like 186. Still going. It's not too bad from the driving characteristics. 188. Ludicrous speed! Yeah, it totally feels like in Spaceballs now. Now I have to reduce the speed again. Yeah, and here at normal highway speeds like 130 kilometers an hour or like 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. That feels good as for the wind insulation. So just these really, really high speeds, maybe not laid out for high-speed Autobahn driving in Germany, but also not supposed to do that. So yeah, but it didn't feel like I was like unsafe, or the chassis and so on feels really stable. You remember I told you in the exterior part a little bit longer, but also a little bit increased wheelbase, and this helps really with stability on the road. And this is one of the things I really love about this vehicle, having this compact platform, but it already feels like a mid-size sedan or mid-size fastback. It just feels larger than the competitors, which are at the same price. And it is actually larger, and that gives so much calmness and stability on the road. I love that. So, although it might not be the most premium luxury sedan on the market, this is here about also an affordable price. It already gives you a great sense of sophistication. And that's really what I really appreciate about the Civic. And this feeling has been even enhanced here in this new generation. And that is really something very, very special. I really love that. By the way, I was kind of surprised. It was a very decent sound there when I was accelerating. Or don't you think so? I was expecting like, we have this hybrid drivetrain on paper, like under 8 seconds in the acceleration figure, that's fine. But I didn't expect it that the sound from the engine is actually quite nice. Front-wheel drive only here, of course, in the Honda Civic platform. It has been the same ever since. And about this hybrid drivetrain, well, I was using, of course, both powers at the same time. Then here now, getting off the motorway, on the brakes, then the engine is shutting off. We also have this visualization gauge here, if you want to take a look at that. And now power is being gained back, wheels to the battery without the combustion engine running. And it is a very, very interesting drivetrain. So indeed, on the motorway, using first of all both drivetrains. So first of all, in the acceleration, petrol and battery at the same time, well, petrol and the electric drive. And then when I was just cruising, basically, just the combustion engine was running, and maybe also some, gaining back energy in the battery. So when you are driving motorway at constant speed, then the combustion engine is running at an optimum level. In the city, for example, when I need some more acceleration, the combustion engine can serve as a generator for the electric drivetrain. So it's also running then at low RPM, but giving energy to the battery, and then the battery powers the wheels. This is a more efficient thing, actually. And when you need even more acceleration, or maybe going downhill or something, then just now, for example, now I gain back battery. When I go on the throttle a little bit, then the battery or the electric motor is sending power to the wheels, and it's constantly changing, from this pure electric driving, hybrid driving, pure combustion driving, recuperation again, here, back and forth. And so these, let's say, three basic modes are being adapted to what is efficient at this very moment. And I can tell you, from my test experience so far, this hybrid drivetrain is extremely efficient indeed. When you drive motorway, highway only, then it's more like 6 liters on 1 kilometers or a little bit worse. Soon also giving you the MPG figures for US and UK. And as a good average, you can count with like 5 liters on 1 kilometers, for example. But if you predominantly use it in the city, it gets ridiculously efficient, more like 4 or even lower liters on 1 kilometers. And now translating that into US MPG figures, when you're driving motorway only and more the combustion engine is just using like 40 mpg, and that's a good average like 50 mpg, and city only using all of these hybrid drivetrain advantages, some 60 mpg is possible. Then the UK mpg figures are always a little bit different, and this is more like then 50, 60 as average, or then 70 possible as best result. And overall, I mean, these are great results indeed. So especially if it's not only motorway use, but you have a mixed use, you can really make sense out of this hybrid drivetrain. And this is working very, very well, this whole system. And we've seen the acceleration was not too bad. Funny thing is always that since you have this electric boost, when you have moments like, oh, maybe I want to start a sudden acceleration, then the first press on the throttle is kind of spontaneous because it comes out of the battery, from the electric motor. And this is saving fuel because the combustion engine can run at lower RPM, but at the same time it's also in a way sporty and fun. Of course, hybrid powertrains never deliver you a natural sense of driving fun. They just don't do that, because when you mix the systems, it's never to work out well in that way. So from a driving experience fun-wise, I would always go either pure petrol or pure electric. However, when you cannot recharge frequently, depending on where you live, for example, at the same time you want something more efficient, then the hybrid can make sense. One more acceleration, we're already at speed from 80 kilometers an hour. Let's go. Woo! Wow. I really feel how the electric drive is powering it. Went 50 kilometers an hour now, and they're both working together. It's actually really nice. So it is more fun and nicer than expected. Once again, not that natural in the feeling, but that also there again, more natural than I would expect. So for a hybrid, it is decent in acceleration, decent in sound, and also decent as for the fun experience. So I'm very positively surprised about that. Here now at higher speeds, once again, I'm also positively surprised of how stable the car remains and how good it is to control and to steer. The steering is excellent. It gives me very good control over the vehicle. Also, small commands are being transported on the road. Also, for example, your lane change now. Suspension is also not too stiff and also not shaking up. You feel it is not an adaptive suspension, so there some competitors might do better in this segment. At the same time, then also the price goes higher, and this suspension is not bad at all. It's not the best in the segment, but it's not the worst by far either. So I think they found a good and nice solution here. And once again, you have to bear in mind, at this length and what this car is delivering, it is the, or maybe the, and surely one of the best price performance offerings for this kind of vehicle size. And the comfort you also get is also very nice, even more so if you stick to the base fabric seats. In some markets there's also this fabric leather mix available. The animal skin, I mean, it's a mix of animal skin and leather red in this case, but it's always the slicker surface. Yes, some might want to clean it, easier, something wiping it, but the fabric surface will always be softer and adapt more to the body. So I would also, for comfort reasons, prefer that actually. Being front-wheel drive, of course, when you accelerate out of a corner, you don't have like this feeling of you're getting pushed out of the corner or something, But although we have the electric power here, I don't feel much understeering. That might be a thing then rather of the Civic Type R, which we can present to you at a later stage, when you have even more power than just by these front wheels. But here, I think a very balanced setup. Maybe you realize on the motorway there are blind spot monitors in the side mirrors that are working very well. And you also have the cruise control here at the steering wheel, and you can activate it, deactivate it. Nice clicking sound also at the steering wheel. So the Honda interiors we've seen at the LA Motor Show recently, where I presented to you the whole new Honda range. This one here, of course, the Civic, then the new one, then the new Honda Accord, the CR-V, the Pilot, the HR-V, which is then sold as ZR-V in Europe. And all of these interiors have been upgraded. And for example, here now, years ago, who would have thought that I found delight at the clicking sound of the cruise control in a Honda vehicle? No one would have expected that. But here it's actually true. And then you can actually activate or deactivate the active lane keeping. Let's see here. How active is it? And how annoying maybe or not annoying is it? And so far, kind of smooth, keeping me in the lane. Nicely done. Of course, that's predominantly used then for the motorway. But this is also one thing with the new generation. They have upgraded the whole assistance systems range. And all the assistance systems, they seem pretty sophisticated. So, in the previous generations, you rather always had the impressions, yes, it's a great deal, price, performance, and so on. It drives well, it's fun, the steering is also sporty and natural. But then you always had a feeling of, yeah, okay, there's a compromise because it doesn't feel so premium on the interior, and there might be competitors that feel more premium. But I really have to say here now, also with the climate dials and so on that have clicking sound, and this is a straight user interface, one click to activate the steering wheel heating, just one turn to make it warmer or colder, one click to, it's a little bit hidden behind the steering wheel, but when you know where this button is, you can also press it blindfolded. So one click here. Yeah, in this case, no, sorry about that. I'll retry it. There we go, here, there you have it. Yeah, but you can't really see like which level it is on, you have to feel it. So that's maybe the only button that is placed behind the visible area. Yeah, but it's a very straightforward user interface, and you do not have to learn this vehicle. And imagine me as a car reviewer, having driven something between 1,000 and 2,000 cars in my life so far, and sometimes I get in new vehicles, and I get like, whoa, how am I supposed to deal with this, and what is this, and what is that doing? And I might take like 2 hours to learn this vehicle now. And is that really making sense? And I think no, because a great user interface, a great design, has some nice features, and maybe also some features that might be surprising or something. But at the same time, a great design, great interface should also be easy to learn and straightforward, and everything should become obvious how to use something. And that is the case here also while driving. So it's a relief for me to finally drive a car again, which is so easy to control while driving. And you don't have to think about, wait a minute, when I want to increase the wind strength, what do I have to do now? So this is totally obvious. So really enjoying how simple this layout is in this car. And that doesn't mean bad at all. It means good in this case. And I just have to stress again, the driving feeling is really exceptionally good. So this vehicle delivers a driving feel which you most often only get in premium mid-size sedans, So they, of course, have better suspension technology at that price. And adaptive suspension you can order, or for some you can even order air suspension or something. But that's totally not the price league. And when you then think about that, cars that equally deliver some kind of same experience are at the price tag, which might be double the price tag of this one. Wow, this is hardly justified. This is more than about branding indeed. So to me, driving the new generation Civic here is really about, do you want more space than you have in the compact segment? At the same time, you don't want to drive the largest sedan. You want a sporty driving feel, precise steering, you want comfort while driving, you want an easy and simple, straightforward user interface. Yeah, there's hardly anything against that at the moment. Of course, Honda internally, the Honda Accord, when you want to go even larger there, but the Civic is the better price performance definitely, and already, especially here as the liftback, fastback, hatchback, however you want to call it, this is the better concept. The sedan, yes, is longer, has a longer trunk, but the separate trunk is always harder to load. Here you can even, when you fold the seats, put the bicycle in, you can easier load in and out. In some markets where there's a lot of issues with burglary, people tend to prefer the closed trunk because, is it the case actually? Is it the case that stuff is safer then? Well, in a way, because you can't get to the things by just breaking glass, although this safety glass is kind of hard nowadays. But then you have to break into the trunk separately. So that is maybe one reason to go for the real sedan. And of course, the real sedan, does it look better? What do you think? I'm not sure. Maybe because it's a little bit longer from the proportion or something. But the hatchback here is definitely a more practical car. Here, by the way, once again about this hybrid drivetrain, running downhill, just getting back energy, and the battery is full already. So the battery is not large. It's more like this buffer battery, but that ensures then that might take, that's close. Yeah, this road here is kind of annoying because it's just too narrow. For some roads, especially in Europe, they were built at a time when cars were just smaller. And then cars have become bigger and bigger and bigger. Well, but roads and parking garages and so on have not. And this is, of course, creating problems nowadays. Just think about the first generation 911. You could almost park a first generation 911 in the current generation 911. Yeah. Very interesting, definitely. Sometimes when a lot of electric consumers are running, the engine might hop on, but most of the time, in this case, gaining back energy, or when I'm slightly on the throttle, then, for example, once again, just the electric drive is active, then it can happen for a second again that the combustion engine is on. You might criticize that, wait a minute, isn't the combustion engine going on and off all the time? Then is that really good for an engine? That has been a problem with a lot of hybrids. I've talked to this issue with many manufacturers, and they are always telling me, so when they are building in-built hybrid, plug-in hybrid drivetrains, in these areas where there would be, higher stress on the engine, they're using stronger materials that are more durable than it would be for the normal version of the drivetrain. And at least they say that their figures show that their hybrid or plug-in hybrid drivetrains do not more often have reliability issues than the other ones. Yeah, that's what they say. It's really hard to prove that with an external other source or something. The only thing we can do is look at reliability figures in general for Toyota and Lexus especially, and they always score very, very high. And usually people are also satisfied with the other Japanese brands, Honda and Mazda as well. Of course, depending on the car. You might remember Honda with one engine generation, also in the CR-V, had these oil dilution issues. Hope they're fixed meanwhile. But here so far about this drivetrain, didn't hear so much negative. If you did, then please join us in the comments and tell us more about that. But I really have to think, I was expecting good efficiency. It has been awesome efficiency, really more than expected, or less fuel than expected. But I was expecting less driving fun, definitely. And that the hybrid drivetrain would kind of feel more weird, but they've really worked on the hybrid drivetrain here in this situation. And it was a couple of years ago when I drove it in the previous generation CR-V for the first time, and it kind of felt a little bit off. It wasn't bad, but it felt a little bit off fun-wise. And here now you feel the integration of that hybrid drivetrain has been enhanced. It is just better than before. And yeah, overall, I once again have to say, at this price point here, this is fantastic, really. And we want to top it even more and see about what, when I'm really, oh, there's a Polestar 2, always a great, rear light signature. It looks awesome, right? Doesn't it? We also have a Polestar 2 here on our channel, of course. So now I want to, I want to do full circle and do it on a really, really sporty, up the hill, and also with really bad roads. Let's put it to the real test. And here we go. And due to this low seating position, which is not uncomfortable at all, but at the same time, really, I would say sporty comfortable, I think like, hey, I'm exactly right here as well. Although this is not like the Type R or something. Look at that steering movement. It's really smooth, very precise. I don't have to correct anything. The ground here is really rough. Suspension doing a good job. Once again, it's not the best suspension ever, but it's a good suspension, definitely. Steering could be a little bit more progressive. I don't have to steer that much, but it's actually totally fine. Now here, electric drivetrain plus combustion engine at the same time, and it's smooth. And wow, I'm astonished how little understeer there is actually from that vehicle, and it's really a lot of fun. So yeah, of course, when I would have like a 3-liter V6 pure petrol engine, yeah, of course, it would be cooler from the engine and there would be a better sound. But considering, once again, we want to keep the fuel economy good and we want to keep, payment at the fuel station low. And this is very well delivering then for that case. So what about these horses there? They want to be waiting. Just very slowly, that we don't annoy them. And that's also a good thing. Now we're driving pure electric. The horses can remain calm. The riders will stay in saddle. They won't fly off. Unlike I would have maybe passed them with a Lambo or something. Still driving electric. Still driving electric. Slightly increasing speed. Now combustion, and you also hear it. Yeah, that was also a good use case of how we can make use of this hybrid drivetrain. Yeah, wow. I'm really surprised of how well this car did in each segment. Definitely a step forward if you compare it to the previous generation. And as I said, yes, you will not get the most natural fun driving experience with the hybrid drivetrain, but for a hybrid drivetrain, this was really excellent. And the fuel economy you can score, and topography changes, you're going downhill, you're getting more energy back to the battery again. Even if you're sometimes just standing still, then there's power being generated to the battery and you can later on use it again. Yeah, I think it's a great idea, especially in these times where fuel prices have gone nuts. So this is a very, very welcome addition then. And of course, this car will also be fine without the hybrid drivetrain. So most, like 90% of the review will also count then for all the other drivetrains, then especially for our viewers in the US with the 1.5 or with the turbo or with the 2-liter naturally aspirated engine. So you can also apply all the different driving features then to these engines. And now, want to go a little bit bigger to the Honda Accord, the new one, or a direct competitor here would also be Toyota Prius.